Welcome to DCJ's podcast. The Division of Criminal Justice is within the Colorado Department of Public Safety. This podcast is dedicated to sharing the stories, insights, and experiences of those who work tirelessly behind the scenes to improve public safety, policy, support crime victims, and build stronger, more resilient communities. We'll dive into the challenges and triumphs that come with building a safer future for all who call Colorado home. Thank you for tuning in. We're thrilled to have you join. I'm Matt Lunn, Director of the Colorado Division of Criminal Justice. In today's episode, we welcome Melody Delmar, Director of the Office of the Liaison for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives. She has helped shape the direction of our OMMIR office, focusing on collaboration, innovation, partnerships, and above all, compassion. Melody, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Matt.
Tell us a little bit about OMMIR, its services, programs, and the partnerships we have in the community.
Absolutely. The Office of the Liaison of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives is a newly created office, which builds on continuing ongoing concerted MMIR multifaceted efforts grounded in Senate Bill 22-150. So in SB 22-150, it established the office within the Colorado Department of Public Safety's Division of Criminal Justice. So just to give a little bit more background of our office, we help connect families to resources. We provide information to families on how to report a missing or murdered loved one. And we also work to increase awareness regarding missing and murdered Indigenous people. We also develop and enhance partnerships with tribal law enforcement and communities and collaborate with state and local partners to develop awareness training. I'd also like to invite our listeners to our website to learn more about our efforts within DCJ at dcj.colorado.gov.
Well, thank you so much for that background, Melody. One of the things, you and I have been working together now for a little while, and I've just really been impressed with the growth of the office, the relationships that we're building in the community, and the impact that we're starting to have for everyone who calls Colorado home. And as we look to the future, what are some of the priorities that you have for OMMIR in the coming years?
So we have finally established our Community Volunteer Advisory Board, diversely representing members from across the state who are leaders and care about MMIR work in their communities, especially as identified through our state statute. So this year's priority has been connecting with community members and finding those different people who are in our communities, who are leaders and who want to help lead the way. In doing this work, I found that, coming from New Mexico and also here in the Southwest, was that having those community partnerships are crucial to ensuring that we are being responsive to our community members in our state and to keep our communities safe. And I found that to be very pivotal in terms of how effective we are in ensuring that we are being responsive, first of all, and also continuing to build those new relationships with strengthening the community trust.
As you think about bringing people on to the Community Advisory Board, I know that the positions are laid out by statute, but when you think of what makes a good Community Advisory Board member, what do you think of? What do you look for from community members that want to serve in this way?
It's quite easy to answer that, Matt, and I'm glad that you're asking that, because I think that it's simple in that we want people who are engaged and care and having these meaningful conversations in terms of building partnerships. And it's really that simple, but in terms of engaging with newer members, how do we make them care? And do we do that? And I think that establishing those people who are already in the community, who have been doing the work, and helping support them in the work that they continue to do, especially as we respond from the state side, is crucial and critical to ensuring that this work is sustainable and it can continue to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's so important to note, is that so many folks have been engaged in this work for so long here in Colorado and in the Southwest region. And this is just another opportunity for us to engage with these folks, benefit from their experience, their expertise, and be able to serve the community in this way. I just think is really impactful. You've been serving now as the director for OMMIR for a little over a year, as we previously mentioned. What are you most proud of from this first year of leading the office?
I've been most proud of the relationships we continue to have. And also, I think that meeting new people and meeting new partners in the community has been especially something that I'm really happy to see, especially, being given the opportunity to lead the efforts within the office, within the community, and meeting new partners and community members and having them engaged. And I think that's something I'm particularly proud of because it is also in line with, the Not Invisible Act, which I use kind of as my guiding force in terms of not having the evidence yet, but also knowing that community engagement is something that's really at the heart of the work that we do. And so the more I can communicate and work with our community members and to have them on board is something that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, and I think DCJ as a whole does a really good job of increasing collaboration in the public safety space and bringing people together to talk about difficult challenges. And one of the things that I think have been really beneficial for the community as a whole has been the law enforcement convening that you started last year. And we have the second annual one coming up in August of this year, 2025. Could you talk a little bit about why it was important to bring those people together and what you hope this effort will lead to in the future?
I think that building community partnerships is definitely something that, like I said, the root of what we do and how we can build and maintain engagement across the board, not only just with law enforcement, but encouraging that. I know from the past that from a historical standpoint that law enforcement wasn't always welcome to these spaces or trusted. And I feel that being in this role and being a trusted partner with our law enforcement and encouraging those conversations, those difficult conversations in terms of re-engaging with how they are depended on in the community. And I think that is something that I've been really seen as a strength in terms of what we're going to build in Colorado and we have been building for the past year. And I feel like I can really say that I felt trusted by our own DPS, and especially with having the honor to lead this work has been crucial. And I really am appreciative of, the space that DPS has created in terms of rebuilding those connections with the community and continuing to be a trusted partner with our, on all levels of, tribal government and also with our community members and also, just across the board, to be honest. And I know that our work is being recognized as a leader. And I am also quite proud of that too, to hear that people see us as a trusted person in this space in MMIR in our country.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll give a quick plug here. Melody was the recent recipient of an award from the U.S. Attorney's Office for her work in the MMIR space. And so congratulations on that recognition, Melody. And, I often say when there's an emergency or there's a crisis, you call your friends. And so that's why I think these law enforcement convenings like you're putting together in this space are so important, because when something happens, you want to be able to know who you can pick up the phone and call and that they'll be there for you. And so those opportunities to be in the same space with somebody, better understand their issues, their concerns, and their perspective is just really invaluable. So thank you again for bringing those groups together. We've seen a focus on MMIR work across the country with legislation at both the federal and the state level. From your perspective, why is the work of MMIR so important? And is there anything you've been surprised by as you've been doing this work now for quite a while?
I am, honestly surprised by how invested people want to be in this work. Once they get drawn into it, it's hard not to look away. And I think that historically, we know that, well, I know this, but I know not everyone knows this, that Native women are most likely to experience the highest rates of violence. And even though we are a small demographic, to experience the highest rates of violence is, not okay. And so as an advocate here in the movement, since I've started the work and, doing work in a domestic violence shelter early on and seeing how this has taken speed, especially with our First Nations in Canada over the 80s. And now here we're responding from a federal and state level. It's really important that we engage all our voices in terms of how we keep our communities safe, especially with the high rates of violence against Native women.
And, OMMIR, we talked about it being situated in the Division of Criminal Justice within the Colorado Department of Public Safety. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that intersection of law enforcement, between law enforcement and its relationship with tribal communities?
Sure, yes. I know that, like I said, historically that law enforcement hasn't always been trusted just for a number of reasons with our tribal communities. And I think that the intersection right now is that they're starting to build back that trust by being more community-based partners. And I think that having that leverage to have these difficult conversations and to, why they haven't been trusted in the past, but also how we're moving forward hand in hand to rebuild that trust and also to engage with, like you said, being a trusted partner. Like I can call, Melody or I can call Matt, and I know that they're going to be there on the other side of the line doing everything they can to help not only regain that trust, but, build more partnerships and build trust being a safe entity within our state. And so I think that navigation has been very encouraging to do here in Colorado, and I'm looking forward to continuing to help foster that relationship here in Colorado.
Yeah, and one of the things that your office is engaged in is working on training for our law enforcement officers in the state on MMIR issues. Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe any work that's coming in the future in that space, anything related to increasing the training, awareness, and understanding of our law enforcement professionals here in Colorado?
Yeah, I would definitely like to highlight that with our peace officers training that we've been able to inform more culturally appropriate best practices within CDPS. And I think that's a highlight that I haven't seen from other states so far. And I think that having that engagement with the training and also being a tribal liaison within DPS, the first one that I know of so far, helps me figure out how to best navigate this work moving forward. And I think that's particularly exciting because we have the ability to be very innovative and strategic in how we want to move forward in terms of the next few years.
Melody, are there any national awareness days, days of significance that the community should be aware of?
Yes, certainly. And I think one easy day to remember is May 5th, which we recently had our National MMIR Awareness Day. And this is a across the nation day to be aware of our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives and to highlight the work of community members and to remember to be engaged with keeping our communities safe in terms of MMIR efforts. So that's one day that I think that could stick on the calendar is May 5th for that MMIR day.
For our law enforcement professionals that are listening, what would you tell them if you could give them, 2 or 3 things that you'd want them to know about MMIR, the work, the community? What would you tell them?
I think there's a few different things. Is that this work has been above and beyond just the law enforcement capacity. As you had said during a recent conversation we had about its economic development, its housing, it's much more than we expected. And that's something that I've been particularly surprised about is that there is no wrong way to do it. We're just moving forward and seeing the best way and how we can do it best with the community. And I think having that community engagement has been particularly surprising for me so far in the work, and also very gives me a lot of hope for how this work can move forward in terms of the community response and learning more about why MMIR work is so important to drive forward much more than just public safety. It's like I said, inclusive of a lot of different other spaces that we see as the work moves forward.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when people ask me, one of the things that I talk about is being authentic and being present, right? And it goes back to that important piece of building relationships with the folks that you serve and that you serve alongside of, and understanding their perspective and their experience, so that you can be more responsive, you can be more culturally responsive, and we can continue to move the work forward. So I think that piece is, we can't highlight enough the importance of building those relationships and bringing everyone to the table. What can listeners do to be actively engaged in MMIR efforts? This could be people that work in public safety, this could be people working in community and nonprofits, or it could just be anyone that calls Colorado home and they hear about this issue, they want to contribute in some way. What would you say to folks that want to be engaged in this space?
I think that simply learning about our tribal communities in Colorado and also the ancestral communities that are, call Colorado home as, our original ancestors is very vital to understanding the history, and also recognizing that there's a lot more that we can be proud of in terms of our heritage and our practices, such as going to a powwow or going to the Ute bear dances. And so just to expand a little bit more for those listeners who aren't familiar with cultural practices, a powwow is generally known as kind of a across the board experience that a lot of different Native American communities participate in. So it's kind of like a social gathering and a dance across the nation. And also specific to Colorado is our Ute bear dances, which are open to the community. And I was very happy to, have you, Matt, come and attend and do some bear dancing. And so that was really neat to see. And I think that's something that's particularly something that I'm really thankful for and proud of, that you yourself are engaged in as a leader and participate in the bear dance and the powwow. But do you want to expand a little bit more on the bear dance experience you had, Matt?
I was really excited to be able to be in community for the bear dance. It was an experience. I brought my whole family down with me so that they could have exposure to the tribes and to the culture. And I apologize to anyone that had to dance with me if they felt like I had two left feet. I'll say I probably lost about 10 pounds with all the dancing that occurred that day. And but I really enjoyed it. And more than just participating in the bear dance itself, but the times in between, the times having a meal with folks and just talking with individuals about what's important to them broadly, what things that they care about deeply. I just think I would offer that up to anyone to be engaged in, to experience that. And you touched on this earlier, Melody, and I think it's so important to notice. Sometimes when we work with different communities, it doesn't matter if it's a tribal community, it doesn't matter what part of the state we're in. Sometimes we can be too focused on a singular topic with certain communities, if that makes sense. And I think that's certainly true in the MMIR space. Is we can sometimes focus too much on that one particular issue, and it is a very important issue, not only here in Colorado but across the country. But I think it's also important to note that people want to be engaged in conversation around education, around healthcare, around access to different services. One of the most impactful conversations I had when I was down there was actually on education. It was on K-12 education in Southwest Colorado, and so it was just a wonderful experience. It's always great to be in community, and I promise folks down there it's already on my calendar for 2026. So my cowboy hat and my boots are ready to go for 2026. Melody, can you tell us again where folks can find some information about your office if they want to be engaged or learn more about what's going on with OMMIR?
Sure, yes. You can start out, first of all, by visiting us on our website at dcj.colorado.gov. And you can have the opportunity to learn more also in just simply using the hashtag MMIR or MMIP and looking into those resources of, being aware of the movement and how to be engaged with our office. And so we have our community volunteer advisory board as well, who are, I want to say, like strong ambassadors and people in the community that can be reached out to across our state. And also, reach out to myself, and I am always available to the community because I like it. My heart's invested in this work. And so I think that moving forward, learning more about those opportunities through our website and also through the hashtag is a easy ways to learn more about how to be engaged.
Well, thank you, Melody. I would also put a plug in specifically for our LinkedIn page. We talk broadly about the division on there and highlight the work of community partners. And we've recently had a number of stories highlighting the great work of your office on that platform. So I would encourage people to check out our LinkedIn. And thank you again, Melody, for joining us today and for sharing your valuable insights into the work of OMMIR and DCJ.
Sure. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for listening. We are just getting started, and we look forward to bringing you more stories, interviews, and discussions that highlight the incredible work being done in our communities to build a stronger, safer Colorado. If you enjoyed today's episode, help us increase awareness by sharing and subscribing to this podcast. Together, we can continue to drive change and create a brighter future for everyone. Until next time, stay safe and stay engaged.